Remember the Y2K panic or the scramble to move everything from on-prem to the cloud? We survived and work moved faster. Today's AI wave feels the same, only quicker. Welcome to TIDES. I'm your host, Shveta Malhan, and on this episode of TIDES, we are joined by Laura Close, co-founder of Included and South by Southwest Innovation Award winner, whose mantra is simple: roll out of bed, dive in, delegate. We know AI touches countless HR use cases, and today I'm excited to talk to Laura and unpack how CHROs can turn dashboard overload into decision-ready insights with the help of AI and to solve for AI. Welcome to TIDES, Laura.
Thanks for having me.
All right, let's dive into our conversation. I'm really looking forward to unpacking and learning from you based on your interactions and what you're sensing in the industry. What are CEOs looking for from their CHROs?
You know, it's funny, since the pandemic and the return to office shift, CEOs have never been more accountable for their workforce analytics. And so, I would say, I don't know what you're seeing, but in my neck of the world, where we use AI for people data, we are seeing an unrelenting interest from CEOs in how do we get to workforce data insights and directional guidance faster.
Which is great news because I always used to feel like organizations know more about their customers because they collect so much information and data about their customers to make their strategic choices and decisions. And we don't know as much about employees, people in our work environment. So it's really music to my ears to see that now the CEOs is asking all of its C-suite, including CHROs, for more data, people data specifically. But also then if we look at the landscape of people data, this is still a relatively new domain for HR. And it's not an easy one to lift as a capability in an organization. Is the landscape shifting there now that we have AI in the mix?
What am I going to say? Yes. The answer is yes. You know, I don't think it's a bad thing that HR was in some ways, kind of at large, the last organization inside large enterprises to really come online with business intelligence, now called, data analytics. But, HR comes from a really specific place. It comes from understanding the operations and the policies and the experiences of our workforce. A lot of our CHROs are culture leaders, right? Or policy leaders. And those are critical skills. Obviously, the advent of AI is an accessibility issue. In addition to everything else that we imagine AI to be, it unlocks, data centricity. For those of us who come from different areas with different specialties and subject matter expertise.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if we look at, I'm just so curious about unpacking this data angle with you, because if we look at our experience with people data before the era of Gen AI, what I've heard a lot of HR leaders talk about as pain points for them was that the data is fragmented, it's siloed, it's in so many different systems, it's hard to make sense of. So much so that sometimes the way, like the data definitions are also not consistent. So headcount report generated by finance might give a different number versus what HR pulls out, and immediately HR's credibility is diminished because then you don't look credible in front of the C-suite. Has AI solved for that problem? Has it changed and shifted that for HR leaders, made it easier for them?
It's a softball question for me because our entire solution, right, exists in that space to make the life of the CHRO easier and to make their impact at work stronger through the data insights that AI can extract. But what I want to say in relationship to your comment is that for a long time now, CHROs have really had to rely on some other subject matter expert to knit data sets, to spend time with their own sort of private custom tool sets to extract information. These are long processes of finding people, onboarding them, getting them some very private custom tools, and hoping that they get us the information that we need. And folks are doing the best they could at all points. The use of AI is about making that process easy and fast, and about empowering C-suite to get the information they need instantly when it comes to those questions in a way that's credible and trustworthy.
I'm so keen to unpack Included as a platform because I've heard a lot about it. We'll get to that in a second. I also wanted to get your lens on why is data such a key ingredient to HR's equation of supporting the organization with AI transformation? And I'm specifically talking about people data, employee data here.
Yeah. At the heart of HR is this question about how we work, what it is to be at work, how we get our work done, right? And how we judge ourselves on the quality of that work. And for a long time now, that work has been done well. It's been done by professionals and experts. But when it comes to being able to drive change initiatives that would benefit the bottom line of the company, HR often gets stuck in sort of a he said, she said debate cycle. Hey, we should be going in this direction. These are the reasons why. And this is our new intention and our new set of KPIs. And then, pile on from other peer leaders who are more data driven, right? Well, on what grounds are we establishing this initiative? Show me the data. And then once the data is shown, it's not good enough, it's not knit enough, it's not clean enough, right? And so when it comes to AI, the role of AI is to change that dynamic. And what we do with that is we speed up the decision making process by getting to data clean, right? Trusted data insights faster.
And how does Included as a platform help in that equation? Because my understanding is that Included, I haven't used the platform, but what I'm getting a sense of by researching on it is that it's not a platform where you've augmented AI into an existing platform as a bolt on, but it is an AI native platform. Is that statement true? And if it is, for people who probably don't distinguish between the two, how is it different from a AI bolt-on platform?
My co-founders, Raghu Gulmudi and Chanangola, they're futurists and they're customer obsessed. And so it was years ago that we came to market with an AI native solution for HR data, for people analytics. And what that means is that we're pretty differentiated in the market in terms of our ability to deploy instantly and quickly and in a lightweight fashion at companies. So when you're asking this really interesting question, like, what does it mean to have AI added on to a pre-existing set of software? The term I think you use and that a lot of people use is bolt on, right? And what you're doing at that point is you're taking sort of an old-fashioned way of achieving a software. So, the software has to integrate into different locations in the company, and then we have to endlessly check and monitor everything it does for months and months at a time. The rollouts are so intense for a lot of HR technology. I mean, have you heard some of the war stories?
Yep, I have gone through the experience of implementing and
Okay.
spinning up a people analytics capability. So yeah, I
How
have some
long?
lived experience.
How long did it take?
Oh my goodness, to get the platform to show some value took more than a year for just basic reporting.
Yeah, more than a year. One of the things so I'm newer to the software space, starting with the founding of Included. And one of the things that has been sort of the most heartbreaking for me are these stories of people who have spent years of their career implementing a single software, right? And so this is really where we need to have a much higher expectation for what native AI brings to the market, right? So for example, with our platform, we're customer obsessed. We wanted to eliminate that pain point. If you're a Workday customer, we go live in 2 weeks. If you're a non-Workday customer, you go live in under 4 weeks. And that includes like instant insights into your total HR data set, some reporting and whatnot. You won't be surprised to hear this, but people have a hard time believing it.
I am finding it hard to believe. Like from like 12 months plus to 4 weeks, it's music to my ears because I mean, imagine implementing a software that goes enterprise wide is not a cheap undertaking for the organization. And then not being able to show value of investment for a year plus, and all your energy as an HR leader goes in managing expectations around justifying the cost versus actually being strategic and planning for how to leverage this platform that you spend time, energy investing. It's huge. It's such a big pain point right now, I think, in the HR community, because I would also say that if you look at HR community in general, we are sometimes not the most tech savvy people. We haven't had experiences and exposures in the business, probably implementing software. Like you implement one HRIS and you don't touch it for years, like, so you might have done it once, but it's not like part of your day job every day to think about how do I apply business analyst lens or a solution architect lens. That's not our core capability. So it's really hard to implement tech that takes years and months to implement. So I'm like, wow, 4 weeks. That's amazing.
You know, we've done a couple other things. I'm going to brag about my company a little bit because I think customer obsession is something that's really important to me as a founder. I'm a serial entrepreneur. Customers need to be at the heart of everything we do and every choice we make. And, first of all, building AI native is a customer obsessed behavior. It means you deserve the very best. You deserve help. You deserve intuitive help. You deserve instant help. You deserve help at scale. But additionally, we did two other things that kind of speak to the story that you were just telling that I think are really important. And I really want to encourage other founders to look inside their own companies and say, how can we deliver at this level of customer obsession? Because without our customers, who are we? And the first thing that I want to surface is the sort of all you can eat buffet model. So instead of saying, here's one piece, it's, $1. Now, here's the other piece that you really want. I bet you want this, huh? That'll be another dollar, so forth and so on, so that we've got companies who are spending several $1,000,000 on a project that takes over a year, if not 2 years, to go live, so that the end users then don't end up actually using it because it's such a labyrinth, it's so complicated to use, right? So we went with the all you can eat model, and everything is included. And in that, there is no confusion, and it makes it a lot easier for leaders to kind of share that information internally too and say, look, we're not going to get tricked. We're not going to, get hoodwinked in any way. And then the last piece is a run and operate model. So every one of our customers has access to experts on our team who can consult with them, can be there if there's anything unique or extra fancy that they need to talk about that has to do with delivering insights from their data set.
That's amazing. And another point that I want to explore with you is, like there's a really nice chart, Brent Dykes, if I'm getting the name correct. He talks about the first mile and the last mile of data and how much effort is put in all these different stages. And I think because of the implementation and product challenges that we were just talking about earlier, many HR teams are not able to play in the last mile, which is where we bring insights in front of the right people. How has an AI native platform closed that gap for the customers? Because again, we might not all be data savvy to interpret charts and reports to pull out the insight.
Yeah. So the first piece I want to unpack is sort of what it feels like to have that broken last mile. We hear from our customers all the time, I am a business person who happens to sit in HR. This is a comment. Have you heard people say that before? So a lot of HR leaders are actually whip smart business leaders who've selected HR as the org over which they will sit and that they will run. And the same is true in cascades throughout their organizations, just crackerjack business leaders up and down the chain. Being data savvy is lovely. Being data savvy does not make you a great business leader. And so to say that, HR was struggling before AI would not be an understatement, because there's this stereotype that's been leveled over and over again at HR that, oh, you're not data savvy, so you don't get to have a seat at the table, right? Which is super ignorant and really goes against all of the incredible knowledge and business acumen that's actually sitting there, right? A great proof point is our data dashboards. Nothing more savvy about data than a data dashboard. I don't see a lot of data dashboards actually contributing to the actual decisions, right? And so when we built Included, and what we do with our customers now is we're really trying to deliver that sensation of success and like nailed it, right? So like get out of my way and like let's end the debate cycle. Let's get moving a lot faster and let's make executive decisions that have impact by surfacing insights in that final mile. And, obviously with with the tech the way it is these days, we can integrate that stuff into Slack or Teams. It just pops up when you need it, where you need it, in a way that's relevant to your KPI set. And, there's tons of instances where, customers have discovered important information in their data and HR gets credit now.
Yeah, so true. Can we unpack a little bit about what type of data platforms like Included or any people analytics platform can connect to? Which I'm specifically asking this question, Laura, because when we think about people data sitting in HR, sometimes what comes to our mind is headcount, payroll data, job tenure, job title data. But these are very table stake data pieces, in my opinion. Are platforms also now expanding to connect and collect and correlate other types of data that HR leaders might not have had, an opportunity with the right platform to connect and correlate?
Oh, absolutely, yes. And let me turn the tables on you. Are you asking that question because you have desired in the past to see higher and higher levels of correlation? Have you undertaken projects in this arena? Tell me a little bit, bring me in closer, to your desire and your interest in correlating these data sets.
Yeah, sure. So I'll give you an example. When I was working on spinning up a people analytics and insights capability in past role, I was talking to a lot of business leaders to understand what kind of information and data would help them with a real issue or challenge that they're facing day in and day out. My goal was the vision was that once the people insights capability is lifted and spun up, the access to all the information about people should be in the hands of people leaders in the business so that we can have more localized decision making versus decision making in HR, which sometimes might not be close to where the action is happening. I'm not saying we have to choose either this or that, but what if we have both? It'll be so much more powerful approach. That's where I was going. And one of the pain points that I uncovered was talent discovery was a huge issue in that organization. It was a professional services organization. They had to spin up teams really quickly and disband and come up again, solving for client problems. And the only way they could look at their talent was through the lens of the org chart. An org chart, we all know, doesn't give you the full information about the lived experiences we all bring to our work in a work environment. Yes, my job title might be X, but I might add so much more beyond X, which I might have lived in other lived experiences. So what I ended up doing was working with the IT team to use AI and parse out skills, which we fed into a system
Mm.
that could now connect and correlate and then also connect it to current job roles in the organization so that we could understand where are the skills at, who has what skills. And we didn't stop at skills. This organization it's very digitally savvy and progressive organization, already had information on what projects people are working on, how much time are they spending on projects, in what capacity. Like my title might be, let's say, a strategist, but I might have done UX work on some client work, or I might have done marketing copy for some other. So we were able to pull all of that so that when a hiring manager comes in, all they have to do is put in their specs and requirements. I am looking for a person with this kind of skill set, this kind of client that they have exposure to, and this amount of time that they have spent in that role. And voila, the system would give you a list of 5, 10 people. So your time to discovery shrunk from weeks to hours. That's where I was going. But I haven't experienced a platform that connects, correlates everything together beyond the basic data points about employees.
First of all, I'm assuming you got a promotion after that.
Yeah, I got a lived experience that is coming along with me in my journey as an entrepreneur, and I'm loving it.
I love that story. It shows your futurism and your imagination, right? It also shows that you have the spirit of a founder, right? Because you were able to visualize, you're able to spin up and harness the resources. So I'm going to just mention the fact that, pop quiz, what is the number one thing that AI is the absolute strongest at? And people forget this because there's so much hype going on about AI right now. It's crazy. But the
Mhm.
number one thing that AI is absolutely strongest at is correlating incredibly large sets of information, just like running millions of potential scenarios per minute or per second. It's just really at the heart of like, it's like, I could be like, what are you the best at, right? It's what AI is absolute best at. And we have all these grand aspirations and fears of what AI can do. But the heart of it, if you have a situation like the one you described, where you need to correlate incredibly large sets of data, this is where AI really shines. And that's why we founded Included, because we knew that the number one way that we could support HR in joining the AI sort of revolution was to give HR the ability to use AI for the one thing that it absolutely smashes it out of the park with. And that's correlating many, many, many different disparate fragmented sets of information, most of it quant, and a little bit of qualitative too. We got exit interviews, right? Sentiment analysis and these sorts of things, but all of it, correlating all of it right now. Can my startup correlate every single data set inside the enterprise? Not yet. We're getting there. We have a roadmap, right? But at this stage, the reason customers join us is because we have an enormous ability to ingest a variety of sources, including the ATS, the HRIS, the engagement system, exit surveys. I mean, just on and on.
Yeah, even those data sets are such powerful data sets like exit survey data. It's really sometimes hard to make sense of it. We do exit surveys, but we don't connect and correlate it back to, let's say, engagement data to say what happened in the journey of an employee that they went from high engagement when they joined to low engagement by the time they decided to quit. So it's really hard to make informed choices. So I'm really happy to hear that. For organizations, so there are many mature organizations out there that have a mature people analytics practice. But maybe let's talk to organizations who are very inspired by what you had to share today in the conversation. And they're like, "Oh, I didn't realize the power of data because the kind of decisions HR has to make today and going forward might not look and feel like the decisions they had to make pre Gen AI era. Because now organizations are going through seismic shifts and new people challenges are coming up, new people decisions have to be made. So they're bought into this idea that people data is really important. How would you suggest they go about convincing their leadership to invest in people analytics and insights as a capability? And part of that is getting the right platform. How do they put together a business case for some of this new emerging tech?
Well, I think first of all, a lot of companies, the CEOs are asking, like, come to me with your proposals for how you're going to adopt AI. And a lot of leaders are frozen in their tracks. They're like, oh, I don't know. And then, have you seen this online where, you go online to try to learn about AI for your subject matter, in this case, HR. And like everyone's like, first you have to understand how we built the LLM, then you have to learn how to build it yourself. And, like, by the time you are done reading it, it's so demoralizing. It's like, honey, baby, I'm never going to deeply that's not me, right? There are people, see, for example, my co-founders are amazing heads of data science that included brilliant minds all over the world who are great at this, right? But there's this blocker for people who are whip smart business leaders who are being faced with this like onslaught of people being like, I'm so happy you want to learn about AI. Let's begin with the first line of code. Freeze. Not that. That's not what I asked for, right? So when folks are being asked to come up with AI proposals for their domain within the company, or they want to do it, without being asked, I like to say, it's first principles thinking, like, what problem are we solving? And you're going to need to pick 1, 2, or 3 business processes within the org that you are responsible for that what the end customer inside the business wants. And in the case of HR data, it's trusted, clean, verified insights that are relevant to the decisions we have to make. Right. And so you pick the processes that are relevant for your end customer that you understand well. And then you go shopping for a purpose built tool that can solve that problem. This is not the era for buying very large generic tools. The AI is too young. It's like toddler with scissors era right now. So you really want purpose built. And when it comes to proving ROI, that's part of why we designed a lightweight agile AI system that can be up and running in weeks so that you can show instant results and instant wins and really disrupt the sort of exhaustion that people tend to feel after making these kinds of investments.
Love it. I love the problem first mindset, which really can be a big win for HR if we go that route. You talked about the education piece to AI. And yes, we are all living through this intense shift where you blink and things change. How do you keep yourself up to speed on the developments that are happening broadly in the AI space, especially when it's related to work and workforce?
There's a couple different ways. Hey, I'm an avid consumer of information around AI, but not maybe in the way that we've come to understand it, sort of as I'm constantly learning, exactly how the AI is coded. That's not my approach, and that's not what works for my learning style. So I am consuming up to about three different categories of information. One, when I have a problem, I am immediately thinking, how can I delegate this to AI? And I start with that question, not with an answer. I start with the understanding that I don't know what I'm about to discover because it's a new era and everyone's built a bunch of stuff. I haven't asked this question before. How do I delegate X to AI or Y to AI, right? So then I take my problem to market and I look at demos, I look at YouTube videos, right? And I really try to find the tool. I'll go and sign up for sandboxes or free trials, and I'll find the tool that is easiest for me to delegate to. And then I'll get a subscription, right? And I'll get used to sort of my workflow there and being augmented, right? 10xing what I previously would have done. And another place that I go to educate myself is from the founders and CEOs of big AI companies who are on the cutting edge of what we're doing. And I'm listening to podcasts where they're just talking. They're talking about the implications of the breakthroughs. They're talking about why they've built things certain ways. And for me and my learning style, that brings me in closer to understanding the intelligent design so that I can understand better which tools I want to work with and how I want to use it. And my final category is customers. I'm endlessly curious about our customers. I spend time with our customers, understanding their use cases for AI and where they're going next.
And I will add to that, YouTube has turned out to be the biggest open source learning academy. Like, there's nothing that you want to learn that you can't find somebody having taught on LinkedIn. So it's such a great way to, expand our horizons and learn. I mean, there's no shortage of resources available if you're curious.
I agree. It's incredible. And I'm a lifelong learner. I'm obsessed with learning. It's getting to the point now where, and this is true, I wake up in the morning and right now I'm really into Gemini. I had a whole Claude phase, but I'm really into Gemini right now. And I will pose some of my hardest business problems to Gemini and then ask it to, act like a business consultant or to criticize my ideas and tell me, what I'm missing. And then I'll read it. So instead of just sort of like scrolling like Instagram or some other kind of thing that takes my attention, I'm actually, or just reading about all the, tragedy in the world in the news. Like I'm reading about augmentation of thought for the things that I care the most about. And I'm learning. It's almost every single morning now over like coffee.
That's beautiful. Beautiful. I mean, there's a prompt that I came across. So again, this was just when Gen AI was launched a couple of years or more ago. And the prompt you can actually, so one of the challenges in L&D space is that to create role play simulations, it takes a lot of effort to talk to the SMEs, to extract content, put it together in a simulation kind of an environment so that learners can then engage with it in a soft skill simulation. But then now you can create prompts where, to your point, you delegate a role to AI, say, just be a communications coach for me, and this is my situation that I'm dealing with. Pose a question, evaluate my answer, and give me feedback on what I've just engaged with you on. What a fantastic way to learn.
Have you been changed by some of these responses? Have you found yourself as a student like pushed or evolved through some of the responses you're getting?
I would say yes, because one, we know that AI is not perfect. So that's always playing in my mind. And there have been instances where I've used deep research in Chat GPT and it's given me links to stats and whatnot. And I'm not fully convinced. I use so my tabs are like Chat GPT, Gemini, Grok, Perplexity. And I used all of them to fact check each other so that I feel more convinced with what they are giving me as an output. Of course, it depends on what kind of output I'm consuming. But I feel like I've become a better problem solver because people talk about you becoming lazy, but I don't think so. I feel like now I'm more playing like a problem solver and orchestrator role versus using my brain space to store information. The specialization exists in the tools. I need to know how to work with my specialization agents around me. That's how I'm seeing it. I feel like I have superpowers, to be honest with you.
Kind of feel the same way. It's kind of crazy. Like, I definitely started off on the lazy track, right? Like, I was like, oh, cool. Like, day 0 with ChatGPT. Oh, cool. It can write, my LinkedIn for me. I did like
Yeah.
probably 2 months of ChatGPT writing LinkedIn posts for me, and it was really novel,
Yeah.
right? And then
Yeah.
I'm a creative writer, and I'm also a little bit like, fight the power kind of Gen X energy. So I was like, oh, I hate this. It's not authentic. It's not, and then I moved off of the lazy track and it took me a while. Like I had to find the curiosity inside of myself, right? I had to find the need, they say like need is the mother of invention. Like I had to really feel the need. And then it dawned on me one day, to really, really work with the models on my problems, on a particular problem set. And by the end of it, I was just so satisfied. I was like, oh, I'm smart now. That was a really good output, right? And I was like, I can't wait to implement this. I was like so excited, right? And I really think that's where the juice is, is to identify a problem set and then like a good executive be like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna delegate this, you know?
That's right. That's right. And treat it like an intelligence. It's called artificial intelligence for a reason. Whether it's grade school or PhD level, that will continue to evolve. I think it's evolving and becoming smarter by the day. But it's still an intelligence. So I really love it that you delegate it thinking that it's intelligence and we got to make it work for us and augment us. So love it, love it. Before we wrap up, Laura, is there anything that you would like to cover in our conversation today? You've given us so much to think about. I am so excited about our conversation today and inspired, but I still want to give you an opportunity to see if we've missed anything that we should have covered today.
I'd really just love to hear from you. You know, y your favorite use case for AI and HR, right? This is an area of expertise for you. You're spending a lot of time with leaders. I'm spending a lot of time with my customers, but you're spending a lot of time with thought leaders in the space. And so I'd love to hear. I mean, I know what I think already. I'd love to hear, like what's your like current use case? And I'm going to caveat this, okay? Because I think the really grandiose stuff is not working right now, and it will in the future. We're not there yet. I feel like we're in like the internet circa like 1996. Like we're like, I have a web page. I now need a webmaster, right? I'm like very early days. And so I'm really curious these days what folks' favorite use cases for AI and HR, given that it's frankly a constrained environment. Mine is obviously included. What are you hearing about? What's interesting for you?
Thank you for asking me that question. When I heard about AI agents a few months ago, what sparked my curiosity was, like I don't know where I heard it, but I heard somebody use this analogy that in the future states, we might have our personal agents shopping on our behalf. If I have to buy a pair of shoes, I might not spend, like 30 minutes, 15 minutes, hours, depending on my hunting and gathering style trying to find a pair of shoes, I might just give the specs and delegate that work to an agent. And that just got me thinking. What's the impact of that one consumer behavior change on the marketing capability, which has been spun up to sell, market, conduct behavior change for humans? Machines are not going to be inspired by a great looking web page or a punchy tagline, right? So that has a direct impact on humans in that team, in that capability in an organization. And that got me thinking around what role does HR play in that capability shift? And I've been talking to a few CHROs and I asked them, so if this is a situation that plays out, what kind of support will a CMO, Chief Marketing Officer, reach out to CHRO? And more often than not, the answer that I got was they'll invite us for headcount reduction. And I'm like, HR has a bigger role to play than just headcount reduction because if Shweta was working in marketing and suddenly 50% of my work is automated or given to agents, I still have 50% of work left. Now, this is a sweet spot for HR to come in and say, okay, now we know enough about Shweta. Let's say, for example, her skills, and we have enough visibility into what other roles, tasks, or jobs exist in the organization where her skills are the closest match to. We can bridge that gap of skills and then get her plate full again with other pieces of work that she can do. So that's more than just headcount reduction. So that just inspired me to think about new workflows that organizations have to think about. And I ended up actually creating a graphic novel using Midjourney, ChatGPT, learning from YouTube. Because I'm like, I have to have a lived experience where we close this workflow gap and show an end product that proves that yes, a typical workflow of you engage a team of 10 people, one is going to edit your work, another one is going to create graphics and visuals. If you have designers who are going to write the copy, does that workflow still make sense? So I ended up creating a graphic novel, one person. The idea to proof of concept took me just 7 days because of the tools that I had. So I tested an idea and quickly ended up finishing the graphic novel in like 2 weeks. So that was just how I felt so curious. And I'm like, wow, I really do have superpowers now.
Okay, first of all, that was an amazing story. So we covered both the importance of skills-based hiring and skill categorization and skill libraries inside the company during this new transition of the workforce, but then also this founder mindset you have. You just like went out and harnessed all of these tools to augment your ability. A graphic novel in 7 days. I mean, can you even imagine? Like, you and I are old enough to know that that's a wild statement. For me, the takeaway here, and this is what we see with our customers, it's really cool, seeing CHROs use AI to run their organizations. And it's the same thing as a graphic novel in 7 days. It's total augmentation. I'm cautiously optimistic about preventing job loss. And the reason is because the augmentation is so intense when you get there, when you plug in and you start handing over all the entry level tasks, right? And you go up a level of the executive ladder by handing this workload off. So that was crazy. I'm really glad I asked you that story.
Thank you for asking me and giving me the opportunity. I mean, that's just, yeah, we all have such amazing lived experiences with AI. The more we play with it, the more we unpack the true power of this little digital tool that we have access to.
It's a great time to be alive. I put all of my bets on people who are Gen X and, millennial, basically. We have lived through every single technology transition in recent memory. And so I say we just keep going.
Yep. Let's just keep going. All right. Before we wrap up, if people want to reach out to you, connect with you, want to learn more about Included and this cool product that you have and want to engage with it, how do they connect and reach out?
Well, as you can imagine, we have a website. It's www.included.ai. Additionally, I have a pretty rapidly growing audience on LinkedIn where I share thinking and insights and perspectives on the kinds of topics that we've covered today. I'm moving into video, so everyone be nice to me. And so there on LinkedIn, I'm Laura Close, and I'd love to, be connected to folks who listen to your podcast.
Thank you, Laura, for taking out time to talk to me, to share your experiences and talk about your product with us. You've given such amazing, inspirational nuggets and tidbits to us so that we can all be curious and lean into this transformation that we are going through. So thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for having me.
And to our listeners, if you liked our episode today, don't forget to hit subscribe and do share it in your network.